Looking Forward show. I am Jeff Abramowitz, your host for this show, and I'm so excited to be here. We have an amazing show for you today. We are airing today live on Philly Cam Television. We'll be airing tomorrow on WPPM 106.5 Philly Cam, and that'll be at 5 o'clock tomorrow. But today you can listen and watch us on, we're live streaming on Xfinity 66 and 966, on Vios TV 29 and 30, Roku, Apple TV, YouTube, and Facebook Live, as well as other channels. I hope you'll join us. We just have a remarkable show today. I'm so glad to be here. So this is a show, we had our Thanksgiving show a few weeks ago, so I hope everybody's full of their turkey and stuffing, and we're getting ready for the holiday season. And can't think of a better theme for our show than one about volunteering. And this is really a season of giving, right? So we have really some incredible guests on today that are going to be sharing their stories about how they give and in the most remarkable ways. So I'm really excited. They're all people that I've known and worked with before, and we're in for a great show today. We always start our shows off the same way, and usually I talk about some current events and things. I'm going to kind of push that back today because you know what? We have a lot to talk about. I want to give everybody really an opportunity to share about the great work that they're doing. So I want to kick us off today with our awesome guest who's usually on, kicks our show off all the time, Lou Narvaez, from District Director from Pennsylvania Probation and Parole. Lou, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine, Jeff, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Hopefully you're well as well.
So I am well. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Good turkey
day. Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Good deal. I have to tell you, so Lou is in our studio. He's downstairs, and he's like our rock when it comes to finding out what's going on in our criminal justice space and what's happening with the Department of Corrections. He's our rock because he's always here consistently, and we so appreciate that. But Lou, why don't you tell us what's going on in the Department of Corrections and in corrections across Pennsylvania?
Well, just to be in line and in sync with the theme that you have of giving, we prior to Thanksgiving, we put together our CAC, which is Citizen Advisory Committee. It had been somewhat dormant due to COVID because many people were quarantined and many agencies were not providing services. However, we had continued to provide service, as I say on each show, because of the way that we are structured in parole. Parole, all of our agents have vehicles, iPads, and iPhones where they can access the re-entrant in multiple ways. Additionally, to engage the community or give to the community, you have to be in the community. So if you're just supervising someone from a desk, you're supervising papers. If you get to know a person, you have to know the community that they live in, which is what we promote and what happens. So the Citizens Advisory Committee consists of representatives from various agencies within the community, various agencies that service our community for the various needs that they have, whether it's mental health, homelessness, food, employment. And what happened was they had a statewide conference of all the CACs. And let me explain again, CAC is Citizen Advisory Committee. And we began to report out, and Philadelphia stood out amongst the state of accomplishments of what that committee is doing. The committee is ran by one of our local people, Lynn Anderson, and a former parole agent, Reggie Haynes. And there's a host of other providers who have volunteered their time to work with parole so that we can be more effective in staying in touch with the community and the needs of the community. That being said, just to highlight some of the things, because a lot of people, and the reason I'm always so thrilled to be in this show is because there's this misconception of what we do in parole. The paradigm shift had changed years ago when I came onto this location, and prior to that, under Director, Deputy Secretary Stevens, we're more or less about successful reentry. That does not mean we will not revocate a person. The revocation is the last tool in the toolkit. The focus is on how can we help you succeed. We take a trauma-based approach in dealing with people, dealing with the household, not just the individual, because when the individual is on parole, the whole household is on parole, basically, because the problems are interrelated. And that being said, I'm very proud of my staff who volunteers. Just I have a staff that a person as a deputy. She rode by 13 in Cumberland and noticed that a homeless person. She calls the crisis hotline to see if they can come out and help the young lady, which they did. I have other people. I have agents, Wards Evans, Supervisor Nelson. I'm sorry, Atkins, Agent Nelson. They're involved in the food drive in Chester to get food for the people that unfortunately don't have food or have minimum amount of food. I have another supervisor, Swerveson, that speaks at the different universities, along with another Thomas Wines, another agent. He's in the mental health unit, and he teaches at Penn State. And he had his deputy come out and teach a course for them on electives of alternatives to incarceration. We have another agent that's dealing with donations for refugees. Another agent that deals with Thomas Hines, the Books Behind the Bars program, to help coordinate with the different counties. We're not only in the business of supervising and trying to gain compliance, but the important factor of engaging the community.
So,
That
Lou,
has been stressed on all levels.
when we started all this, that our purpose was to break down the silos between probation and parole and our community. And really, and it's great. I'm grateful to hear that. And we knew this, that so many officers are doing stuff above and beyond and volunteering their time to work in the community. And it really speaks loudly to their leader and to the person guiding them at the helm. So thank you for that. I'm curious, and one thing I wanted to talk to you about a little bit is, in giving and volunteerism, is there a way that people in the community could volunteer to help people that are either under probation or that are working with your agents?
Yes, there's an old concept that I heard once. You all probably heard it. It takes a community to raise a child. It also takes a community to help someone rejoin the community. And so I tell people all the time, especially during this season, during these seasons, people are caught up in buying gifts to give joy. You can give joy through a good deed, a kind word. You never know what a kind word would do to someone, depending upon where they are in that point of their life. Seeing something as my deputy did, just rode by, saw him more than once, realized the person's living on the street, and just calling somebody. It's about, yes, we are our brother's keeper. If you're in a community, and you know that, and people know, that somebody's on parole, maybe a kind word would help them. Maybe if you see them getting ready to do the wrong thing, to approach them. It's about engaging the community. And the first way we help somebody is we help ourselves. And they have to embrace each other in the community. We have to really get back to embracing each other and stopping all the nonsense that's going on in the communities.
Yeah. So we know right now in Philadelphia, and I know your office is in the heart of North Philadelphia, or at least one of them, and there's a real challenging time during this time of year. It's really hard, especially for men and women coming home. They struggle. They struggle with getting their families back together. They struggle with the whole concept of giving gifts. Sometimes they can't afford gifts. They struggle with food and just getting a decent meal for the holidays and for Christmas. I want to make a pledge to you, though, that if you have anyone that is currently under supervision that you work with, and you find out that any of those individuals need a holiday dinner, if you can let us know, we will make sure that those individuals get the holiday dinner that they for them and their family. So please let us know and keep us on your radar screen, okay?
Absolutely.
So tell us, COVID behind the walls, how we doing? DOC level, we
Well,
opening up the
we're
doors?
back to now looking at the booster shots. You have to remember one of the biggest
I think Lou froze a little bit, which is crazy because he's in our studio, so he should really have the best Wi-Fi of all of us, you'd think. He's going to pop back on. There
Okay,
you
I'm back on. I don't know if you heard of it.
go. No, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Living in a congregate settings is one of the most high risk things you can do. So the institution, as we discussed early on during the year, I was so proud to be part of an institution that made it every effort to make sure all the individuals got vaccinated with the COVID-19, both the staff, both the inmates. They made an all-out effort. They're making the same efforts with the booster. They're trying to keep people as safe as possible. And to the credit of the COs, the correctional officers. Here you have people going to work knowing that your possibility of getting exposed yourself and taking it home to your family is greater than John Q. Public, who's going to work every day because they're not in the same type of setting. So I have to also acknowledge the COs who did a great job in trying to keep everybody on a positive note. We had our Bureau of Reentry Services that was sending people down because people weren't allowed the same type of out time of the cells because of trying to mitigate the spread, and spending time and trying to work with people. I thought that was just absolutely amazing. We're under new leadership right now. We have Interim Secretary George Little, who is very, very uh, uh, focused on reentry as well as other aspects of the job. He'll be at the call-in, which we're having. The call-in is a program, as you know, Jeff,
Yep.
where we take our most high-risk offenders and bring them in, where we have the Attorney General and other law enforcement officers speak with them in reference to their status and if they commit another crime, which we'll have a call in on December 10th, which is this Friday. But he's very reentry, Secretary Little, reentry focused. So I think that everybody's been doing an excellent job in spite of COVID to try to keep everybody moving forward.
Yeah, I got my invitation for this Friday. We'll be there.
Yes.
So the call in, talks about really raising the flags of what happens if individuals, take one more step towards getting into trouble. And then after it's all done, community leaders come in and share all the resources that we have, helping people get back to work and get whatever they might need, from housing to clothing to the support services. So it's a great program. We've been doing it for a few years, and I can tell you we've seen a lot of success with it. So I'm grateful to be part of it. Lou, Thanksgiving, the holidays are coming up. Just give it to us. If we wanted to get involved and volunteer to support some of the work that's happening in the Department of Corrections and with probation and parole, how will we go about doing that? Can they join that community association? Is that one way?
Well, what I can do is put you in touch with Lynette and also with Reggie Haynes, and you can share, whoever's interested, share their interest in joining the committee. And because they're very proactive and they're always looking for people who's willing to actually move the dial forward in trying to help the community. But I'll be more than glad to do that for the Citizens Advisory Committee. The acronym is the CSAC, but yes, I'd be glad to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for jumping on today. We appreciate you and your staff for the work that they do, and we certainly appreciate the updates every week. I definitely will see you on Friday at the call-in, and
yes.
We wish you well. We do have one more show coming up this year. It's going to be our holiday show. We're hoping you'll be able to join us for that next week. But thank you again for joining us. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to be right back with Cheryl Rice and the You Matter Marathon. This is awesome. You got to listen to it. Looking forward, and I'm really excited about this next guest. I've known Cheryl for several years. She's the president of Cheryl Rice Leadership. She inspires women all over the world. And for the last 20 years, she's helped women cultivate leadership presence, develop confidence, mindfulness approaches in life. And her clients include the largest of companies like Pfizer and Campbell's Soup and the Wharton School. Cheryl is an author, and she's got a book, Where Have I Been All My Life? And she's been she's been the creator and leader of the You Matter Marathon, and I am so glad to have her on. Cheryl, how are you?
I'm thrilled to be here, Jeff. Thank you for having me. Though Lou's a tough act to follow, I gotta say. What a man, what a passion.
He is. We're grateful that he's a friend. So I have to tell you guys, we'll go into this, but first, you got to tell us a little bit about what is You Matter Marathon.
Well, the You Matter Marathon, no running required. That's a really important phrase for all of you like me who really aren't into running. This is the happiest, easiest marathon you'll ever do. And we are a global nonprofit, and our mission is to build positive connections between individuals and within communities by inviting people to share one You Matter card a day a month. And we send everybody who signs up 30 You Matter cards for free, no matter where they are in the world. And this year is our 6th year doing this. And it started, I can tell you a little later if you'd like, as a simple project. I had no idea this was going to take off. And now we're in 98 countries, and we've had over 200,000 people contribute and participate. And honestly, the impact has been magical. As Lou was saying, you never know what a kind word can do. Well, I do know what kind words can do because I've been sharing them and seeing thousands, hundreds of thousands of people now share them all over the world. And I know that the magic that happens when these 2 words, You Matter, are shared. So that's what we're about.
It is so magical. It's so magical. So I have so much to talk to you about. First, 2 million cards out in 98 countries around the world. Just staggering. All 50 states, over 200,000 participants in this project. But how did it get started? So just give us a history.
Well, very briefly, somebody gave me a card with just the words You Matter on it. And I was so moved. I honestly felt like I'd been hugged on the inside just from the message on the card. And so I ordered cards myself. It was a different design card, but it just said You Matter. And I started sharing them. And one day I was standing behind a woman in the grocery store, and I overheard her tell the cashier that she was going through a particularly difficult time. She said her husband had just lost his job. Her son was sick, and she said, I literally don't know how I'm going to make it through the holidays. And I kind of froze. I wasn't sure what I should do, if I should offer to pay for her groceries or ask for her husband's resume. So I didn't do anything until we were both returning our carts at the same time in the parking lot. And I just summoned my courage, Jeff. And I went up to her and I said, I couldn't help it over here. You're having a really hard time right now. I'd just like to give you this. And I gave her a You Matter card. And she started to cry. And she said, you have no idea what this means to me. And then she asked if we could hug. And we did. And then I went back to my car and I started to cry. And they were happy tears, really at the phenomenal power of a connection with a quote unquote stranger. And I've since learned there is no such thing as a stranger because we're all tied together by our common humanity. And so that's when I felt in my heart that I could not be the only person going around giving out these cards. And I wanted other people to have the experience of giving and receiving this vital, vital message. And that's what launched the idea for the marathon.
And it is so simple. It's so simple. So I got to tell you that, so I have to be candid. My partner, Lisa, is on your board, and we just talk You Matter all the time. So, but in the time that I've been involved, and I've been doing You Matter cards for several years now, since just about time it started. And the reactions and stories that I have are just remarkable, from just homeless people that I've bumped into, and you just want to show that they acknowledge them. And I keep a stack in my briefcase, and whenever I'm walking around town and I see somebody that just needs a little smile, a pickup, and sometimes it's nice just to leave it and go, and no acknowledgement, because you just want to the whole purpose is just to let them know that they matter, and not the acknowledgement or anything like that. And have some great stories. But I'm curious, like in the top 10 of stories, is there one that really sticks out in your mind of some of the most impactful ones that you've heard? Because you guys post all the stories, so that's cool.
Yes, we do post stories, and I'll tell you one that's very, very relevant to your community. And this came the very first year of the marathon. At the beginning, we just did this in November, and now it's all year long. At the end of that first November, a woman wrote to me, and she said that she had been estranged from her son, who was in prison. And she was terrified of how they would reconnect. And she deeply wanted to reconnect. He got out of prison and they had a reunion at a halfway house. And she gave him a You Matter card. And she said he started to tear up. And then he asked if she had extra cards that he could give to the men he was living with. And she felt that connection, that message from her to him, was the beginning of their reunification. And when I got that note from her, Jeff, I will never forget. I thought to myself, that first year, I had no idea how we were going to pay for this. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a project. But when I got that note, I'm like, I'm in. Like, if nothing else happened in this, that would have been enough for me.
So on the bucket list of things that I have to accomplish in my life, one of the things that I want to accomplish is I'd like to give anyone that's ever been justice involved or that sits behind the walls of our prisons and jails a card just to let them know that they matter, because they're all human beings and they've made choices that have landed them there. And you and I have discussed this in the past, but we're going to get there. This year, we're going to take some strides, maybe introduce it in Pennsylvania and kick it off from there. But I'm looking forward to it. So if you wanted to get involved in You Matter, like how do you get the cards? How does it work?
It couldn't be simpler. You go to youmattermarathon.com, all one word, youmattermarathon.com, and you sign up, and it's free. And we will mail you 30 cards for free, no matter where you are in the world. And you can sign up as an individual and receive 30 cards for free, or you can sign up as an organization or a group. And we have lots of schools and nonprofits and religious organizations, and we still send you 30 cards for free. And then we tell you how you can either print or purchase all the cards you need. And cost has never been an issue for not participating. And the cards are mailed right now. Honestly, we're kind of backed up. This has been a phenomenal year, but we'll get everybody their cards. And we have a Facebook community for people who like to be online, sharing our stories. We send out a blog post once a week sharing stories because people seem to enjoy reading the stories about the experiences other people are having as much as they enjoy sharing cards. So it's a beautiful community to be part of. youmattermarathon.com. That's it.
That is awesome. That's just great. So like what's in store? So first of all, tell me this about the ambassador. You have like an ambassador program. What is that involved and how do you get involved with that?
Well, that's simply, those are the groups. So for instance, if we have somebody who is a principal at a school, he or she might decide to sign up, and then they would be the ambassador between us and that school. And again, we tell them how they can get all the cards they need for their school. We have a guide for school. So ambassadors really just represent the group. So we don't have to have every teacher in a school sign up. We just have that one person sign up to be part of us. And if people want to, we have ambassadors. We will publish and promote ambassador organizations on our social media so they can get a shout out for participating. And we have hundreds and hundreds of amazing organizations that participate. I get inspired every week when my assistant Melody sends me a list of our ambassador organizations, because they're organizations that are doing amazing work and they're finding ways to incorporate the You Matter cards into their work. And that's very gratifying for me and for us to know that these cards are part of other amazing initiatives as well. So it amplifies any message of positivity and connection. And to be honest, I would say, Jeff, that as you probably would concur, I think we're in a deep, deep crisis of mattering right now in this world, a deep crisis, and that it's imperative that we fix this because we can't fix anything else if we don't get this right. So to me, this is the most essential message of our time, and I'm proud to be giving it.
And you should be. And you should be. You're making people smile, and you're doing something absolutely remarkable, because you're making people feel like they really do matter. And that's half the game. If you can make people feel like they matter in life, wow, just imagine how great our society would be if people really felt that way and recognize there's other people out there that see them, that recognize that they do matter, whether it's homeless people that are out and trying to find shelter for the winter and a place to live or a place to eat, or just somebody struggling with a bad day and recognizing them and telling them, I see you, I recognize you. Something interesting too, I had tossed this idea around a little bit because we had noticed that over the last few years, we've been in this period of, I call it diversity and confusion, because we're all into this diversity space trying to figure it all out. And we tossed around the idea of switching the colors on the You Matter card from a black background to a white with white lettering, and just the significance of it for marginalized communities. And I think the reality is that You Matter Marathon stands on its own 2 feet and is a remarkable project. And we're so grateful that it's gotten legs. And we're looking forward to so much more going forward. So give it to us again. If we wanted to get You Matter cards, or if we wanted to make a donation to You Matter Marathon, how can we do it?
Thank you for asking. Both, you can accomplish both on our website, youmattermarathon.com. And there's a donation link and there's a sign up link. It couldn't be simpler. And again, it's not only good for others, it's good for you. You will find that you will increase your own sense of significance and mattering by sharing these cards.
Yeah, so I just want to end with that. And before we take a quick break, one of the things that this is all about is giving and the feeling of giving and why people do it. It's clear just in your smile why you do this, like what you get out of it. But if you had to ask somebody why get involved, why volunteer, it's more than the person that's receiving. Can you just talk briefly about how it makes you feel when you see these things happen?
Incredible. I mean, I feel like it's the whole reason to be alive in terms of the positive connection between myself and another human being. It really brings me in touch with my own humanity. And we've done research, and we know that the people who give out these cards feel more connected to others, greater sense of gratitude, happiness, and well-being from doing it. So it's the most glorious, easy, cost-effective intervention I can imagine for enhancing well-being and creating the world that we want to be in, creating the world and maintaining and increasing our civility with one another. My goodness. I mean,
Awesome.
So yes, do it. You won't regret it.
Do it. It is the easiest marathon you will ever have to walk, not run, for sure. Cheryl, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to be back in a minute with Kirsten Cornell from the Pennsylvania Prison Society. Can't wait for her to get on. And Cheryl, if you can hang out, we're going to bring you back at the wrap-up show towards the end of the show. But thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you, Jeff. You matter.
Thank you. You're listening to Looking Forward. You're watching Looking Forward. And we'll be right back. Back and Looking Forward, and our next guest. First, I get so energized by You Matter Marathon. I just think it's the most incredible thing, and it's so simple. Just imagine if the whole world was able to give out these cards to everybody. So our next guest, we'll get her back on in a minute. Kirsten Cornell is from the Pennsylvania Prison Society. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing great.
It is so good to see you. I have to tell you that we have. I thought of organizations that really were the ideal. Like if I looked up the word giving in the dictionary, what organizations would be in that dictionary right there? And besides Jeff's, where I work, which is probably at the top of the list, Pennsylvania Prison Society is pretty high at the top of that list for the work that you do. First, can you tell our audience a little bit about Kirsten and the work you do and what the Pennsylvania Prison Society is all about?
Yeah, sure. Before jumping in, I'm going to say that You Matter Marathon was energizing me too. And I'd love to connect with you and Cheryl about how to get more incarcerated people involved in that process. Because as you know, I think all too frequently they hear the opposite message. And I think it's a really important one for us to reach back to those people who are living behind bars in our state and beyond. But for the Pennsylvania Prison Society, we are the oldest human rights nation in the country. We were actually founded in 1787. Our founders believed that no matter what a person did, they still deserved to be treated with kindness and compassion and to have dignity. And they knew that when you have a system such as prisons, when you remove somebody from public view, you're creating a system that is ripe for neglect and abuse, frankly. So we exist. We're written into Pennsylvania state law, where we have independent, confidential access to anybody who's incarcerated in the state of Pennsylvania, whether that's at the county level or in the state level. So that's 62,000 people that we're there to resolve complaints. We respond to allegations of abuse. We respond to requests for resources. We respond to, complaints about access to medical care, conditions of the prison, if there's no heat, if there's rodents, mold, things like that. So I think so far in 2021, we've responded to more than 5,000 letters or calls from either incarcerated people or their loved ones, looking for help. And we answer every single one. We can't solve every issue, but it's important to us to make sure that everybody gets an answer, that they feel heard, that they feel seen, and we do what we can to, advocate for more humane systems and to kind of improve that access to dignity and care.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great stuff. There's one thing that you have a post on your website. I put a slide of it in because I was so touched by it. We will not look away. And so meaningful for men and women that are behind the walls, that are trying to, that know somebody's looking out for them, that somebody has their eyes on the system, and that will make sure that people are treated with dignity above anything else. People may have made choices in their life that landed them in prison, but that doesn't mean that our humanity should be pushed inside of a cell as well. So I'm curious, when we talk about volunteerism, the Pennsylvania Prison Society has tons of volunteers. Can you share a little bit about the work that they do with the Pennsylvania Prison Society?
Yeah, we are primarily a volunteer-driven organization. We have more than 300 volunteers that are active all across the state, that go into every single prison, on a monthly basis, if not more frequently. So, here in Philadelphia, we have a very active chapter of volunteers that meets monthly, and they respond both to requests for assistance from people that are incarcerated down on State Road in the Philadelphia prisons, and also in the neighboring county prisons, as well as the neighboring SCIs. Basically, what happens is once we get a request for assistance, we process it, and then we dispatch a volunteer to go meet with that incarcerated person one-on-one and learn more about what's going on, and then help resolve a solution. So we're a tiny staff. We have a staff of 7. So we really rely on those, 300 plus volunteers to help us respond, quickly and efficiently to the number of requests that we get. We also have some programming that is more situated in building community and mitigating the isolation that, prison causes by design. And that's our mentoring work for men that are incarcerated in the 2 area state prisons, so SCI Phoenix and SCI Chester. So we have volunteer mentors who, some of them have been incarcerated, some of them have not, but they meet with incarcerated people anywhere from 6 months to a year before they come home, and then continue to meet with them and just support them on their journey when they come home. And we rely on volunteers for that work as well.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome program. You also have a newspaper that goes at SCI Phoenix. I spoke up there pre-COVID and had a chance to read the journal that I guess goes inside. It's called, is it Greaterford? Is that what it's called?
Greater Friends, but yeah, based
Greater
off
Friends.
of
The
now closed Greaterford. Yeah, that newsletter has been in print, I guess, for about 20 years, I want to say, and it's largely by and for incarcerated people. People who are in prison write to us with, op-eds, with poetry, with just, thoughts and letters about what's going on the inside, and we assemble it, and it goes out every other month. I think we have about 900 subscribers around the state right now who are all incarcerated. And we know that people really share it around their units as well. So, for every one subscription, I think we can, guess that probably about a dozen other people get a chance to read it. And it's an important way for people to communicate about what prison life is really like, and to build a community again in a world that is incredibly isolating.
Yeah, for sure. I was just reading that that some men up at SCI Phoenix put their money together. Now they make pennies on the hour for some of their jobs, put all their money together to buy some gifts for the holidays for people. But I want to talk to you about something serious. And I did give you a heads up on this because I didn't want to, I think my guests have deserved not to be blindsided. But in the last few weeks, there's been the last few months, but in particular the last few weeks, there's been an article just about every Sunday on what's happening up on State Road in our prisons. And I wonder if you would be willing to share a little bit about the report that's published, that's on your website, as well as the response about what you found when you did a tour inspection of the facilities on State Road.
Yeah, absolutely. The Philadelphia prisons, have been in a crisis probably before the pandemic, but the pandemic has really exacerbated that crisis, where people have been largely locked in their cells for 23 hours a day, having limited access to basic things like toilet paper, limited to no access to the telephone, to showers. And we've just been getting, an influx of complaints from both incarcerated people and their loved ones about what's going on. So once, prison society staff were fully vaccinated, we had conversations with leadership at State Road to come in and do a walkthrough and interview incarcerated people. And both what we saw and what people told us really reflected what we had been hearing on the outside, that there's a real crisis that's creating dangerous situations. There's a staffing crisis where units go unsupervised for hours at a time. We hear reports of people asking for medical care and there's just nobody on their unit to respond. We hear reports of people not being able to shower for more than a week. The mental health crisis that's, created when a situation where you're not allowed out of your cell for 23 hours and you haven't communicated with loved ones or been able to participate in programming because you're just, bored out of your mind at that point. And then there's also the issue that people are waiting for court much longer than they used to. Many of the units in the Philadelphia prisons are going on medical quarantine, which means if one person in that unit tests positive, everybody in that unit is then quarantined. So even if you are vaccinated and have tested negative, you're not able to be transported to court until everybody in that unit is off of medical quarantine, which is creating really long delays for courts. So it's just a multi-layered crisis. And we've really been pushing the city to act and to treat it like a crisis. 15 people have died in custody this year. There's been more homicides in the Philadelphia prisons this year than there has been in, I think, the last 8 combined. Don't quote me on that, but it's essentially in that ballpark. It's really dangerous, and we need to be treating it like the crisis it is. And I think we're in a unique position at the Prison Society to see that what's happening in Philadelphia is an outlier. We communicate with county prisons all over the state that are all dealing with the crisis of COVID, that are all dealing with some of the understaffing crisis. And we're not seeing the same dangerous conditions that we're seeing in Philadelphia.
Well, thank you so much. I've been, I vice chair of the Philadelphia Reentry Coalition and do work at a state level as well. And I'm really upset every time I hear stories, because I'm working directly with men and women coming home that are sharing what they're going through in their journeys. And it's extremely upsetting. And I think doing nothing's just not an option. So we've reached out to Pennsylvania Prison Society because we think people need to be educated as to what's happening. The story in the Inquirer this week was of a young man who came home and was up there for an extended period of time and observed somebody having a seizure, and no medical attention was given and resulted in a death. Just things that are just don't make a lot of sense. Why we're not doing anything about it is really frustrating. So we want to get the message out to the city that this needs to be a priority and they need to start paying attention to it. So thank you so much for sharing that. When people want to get involved with the Pennsylvania Prison Society and they want to donate their time, what's the best way of going about doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our website's the best way. You can get more information on how to become a prison monitor. So that's the volunteer that you're going to be responding to a specific request for assistance. So you can apply right on our website for that work. You can also find more information about how to become a volunteer mentor if that is something that's more of interest to you. So our website is just prisonsociety.org. And you can also call our main line at 215-564-4775 and talk to somebody there. And I'll just add, since I was talking about our main line, we also operate what we call a helpline. And so if you have anybody who's incarcerated somewhere in the state and you have a question about, how to mail them something, how to set up a video visit, just questions about the policy, you can call our main line and somebody will walk you through whatever it is you need to know, because prisons are confusing and it's really hard to get somebody on the line and take the time to talk to you, and we're there to be that resource.
Awesome. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insights, and not only about what's going up on State Road, but the great work that all your volunteers are doing at the Pennsylvania Prison Society. And thank Noah for his hard work as well on some of these issues. So we appreciate you. Hang in there for a little bit. We're going to take a quick break, but we're going to be back in a second with two. We are back and looking forward, and I'm excited about our next two guests that are going to be there. There they are. There's one of them, and he's coming on. Renee Shipley and Kyle. Kyle, how do you say your last name? Kukuza?
Kukuza.
There you go. Just want to make sure I get it right. You know, they butcher Abramowitz all the time, so I feel I have some slack there. But thank you for both joining us. Two wonderful people, and we'll start with Renee because Renee works for Jeff's Human Services, and she has been our champion of donations for as long as I've been at Jeff's. And if I need something that for anything at all, and I need a giveaway, she's like, "Go into our donation room, go get it. We're there. Help yourself." But it's very frequent that I make trips on the weekend up to Renee's house to pick up diapers and all these great supplies that she's able to secure for us. So Renee, first, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Hi, Jeff. How are you? Kyle, hi. Nice to see you again.
It's good to see you, Renee.
So Renee, tell us a little about what the work that you do at Jeff's.
So I'm volunteer coordinator for Jeff's Human Services. And initially it was just volunteer opportunities and mock interviews, resume reviews, informational interviews, having events like the prom, backpack pack-ups, warm gear for cold weather. And it has evolved since the pandemic into what else can we do? Since we weren't allowed to be in person, we pivoted very nicely into mock interviews virtually, informational interviews virtually, resume reviews virtually. But what else could we do? And we decided we would try to get stuff that would bring hope and comfort and heart to the people we serve. So our first foray was into a truckload of Banana Republic clothes. And when I say truckload, I mean 18-wheeler. And Jev's staff picked up. We did it very carefully because it was in the very new stages of the pandemic, and it was safely done. We got a warehouse donated by National Foam, and within a week we had that truckload unloaded and out to the community. And then we started to think, well, what else can we do? And we partnered up with Rivers Casino, Marshall's Distribution, Mitzvah Circle, and a number of other community members and corporate partners that we were able to supply some of the goodness to our clients and the families that we serve.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's one of those things where when the purposefulness of the donations, so everything from children's sneakers to diapers to last year we had 800 coats, winter coats that were given, and I know you gave me a whole stack of them, and we were able to give them to Sunday Breakfast Men's Shelter, and all the men there. I have this wonderful picture, I showed it in there, of these men dressed in these new jackets ready for winter, and it's so remarkable. Talk about making just feeling good. So one of the things that I struggle with you, Renee, is that you often don't get to see the end result, and we do. People come into our office all the time and, Mr. A, you got any more diapers? We could use some diapers this week, or I need some sneakers for my kid. and we get to see it, and the love on their face when they walk into our offices. If there was some way I could bottle it and drop every bottle off to your house, I would. Probably not possible, but we can't thank you enough for all that you do, and Javs does. But it's a remarkable feat, and it's so appreciated by everyone. So during this given season, thank you, and thank your husband too. I know he does a lot of the legwork as well.
He actually absolutely does. He is the most patient man in the world. We have stuff in the garage. We have stuff in the basement. Bruce, can I bring this in? Yeah, we'll just put it somewhere.
There you go. I tried to walk out one day with her sofa. It didn't work so well. All right. So, but thank you, Renee. And you introduced me to Kyle. So I want you to introduce Kyle to me and to our audience, because you made the introduction to me recently. We had a chance to talk yesterday a bit, but I think coming from you, it'll mean something. So give it to us.
Yes, Kyle filled out the form online. We made a connection, and he has always, always, always said, yes, I can help you with that. Yes, I will do a mock interview. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I will talk to whoever you want me to talk to. He works for a company called DAS Design. We're in the process of doing a little bit of work with them, and he has just been an unbelievable partner for Jevs, and I am grateful, Kyle. Kyle?
So Kyle, you had a chance to tell me your story a little bit. So what got you started? Why'd you start volunteering?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it started at excuse me, a young age. I remember in sixth grade, I would take my free time and go and help some of the some special needs kids, rather than go out and do recess and things like that. And then that kind of transformed over the years into just wanting to help in the world for some reason, whatever reason it is. And then, the common thread that I found with what everybody's talked about today, and what I would say it is just the realization that we are all connected in one way or another. So when we're helping others at some level, we're helping make our own world better. So, over the years, I've done what I can to try to help. And, fortunately enough, I was able to connect with Renee and Jevs and do some things with them and some other really great organizations here in Philadelphia.
So what shocked me in our discussion was, I thought, wow, he works with Renee and volunteers with Renee. That's pretty cool. I know a lot of people that do that though, but Kyle, that's not you. You're doing a lot. So give it to us. So what exactly do you do, and who do you volunteer with?
Yeah, so I mean, with Renee and Jevs, mainly what I've been doing is a lot of the kind of the workforce reentry, or entering into the first time, or trying to get, a higher level position than what you're at now. And, for me, it's just kind of looking back at people that have helped me in the past, and whether it's just, a teacher encouraging you, or a superior of yours at a workplace taking the time to instruct you, encourage you, and things like that, that goes such a long way. So anytime somebody asks me, or Renee especially asks me, can you take time out to critique a resume and give a mock interview? Of course I can. Of course I can. I mean, it's like what Mr. Navaya said, and some others touched on today. A kind word or a piece of encouragement can go a long way, and we have no idea what it's going to do, so we might as well do it. Some of the there are some others that I volunteer with that I'd really like to mention. I don't know if you'd like me to mention them now, but
yeah,
that's kind of the gist of what my experience has been like with Jevs.
Yeah, I'm interested in all the work that you do, because you're not a one trick pony. There are a lot of volunteering that you do. So share with us some of the other projects you're on.
Sure. I mean, I'll start with Dynamic Advertising Solutions, which Renee had mentioned. We have a program, an initiative we just had started by our operations manager, Alicia Dietz, which is called DAS Cares. So we've been fortunate enough to partner with the Bethesda Project first, and we created some artwork for some of their PA shelters to help beautify that area, and give some color and some joy to that to those places. Our Closet is another place that we've done an initiative where we were able to donate clothing and actually go and store clothing in the warehouse, which was a lot of fun, and make sure it was going to the right people. So they're doing a lot of great work there at Dynamic Advertising Solutions. Another great organization I've been able to work with is Volunteering Untapped. I've met some really great people there. And they now I believe their next event is going to be December 11th, called Turning Points for Children. It's virtual or in person. So if you're still not out and about and getting in person with people, you can still do it virtually. And they have some really great people on their crew and doing things.
So tell me, can you put a price tag? Could you put a price tag on the feeling you get when you leave one of those events? Like, how do you describe that?
I mean, I think it helped me more than it helps anybody else. Honestly, and I think anybody would say that. Anybody that has ever done any type of volunteer work or just sometimes we got to remember just to be a good person. I got to check myself sometimes, and just make sure, am I being kind today? Am I holding doors for people? It makes you feel great. It adds to your life. So it's a really remarkable thing. And there is one more person that I would like to mention,
Sure.
If I can. He goes by the name of Joe Cox. He's a bike delivery person here in Philadelphia, and some of you may have seen him. He has the pink hair and rides around, and he has something called the PMA Bike Ride, which stands for Positive Mental Attitude, and he's been doing it for about 3 years. Essentially, what he does is he gets donations and he picks up pizzas. And he gives slices of pizza out to anybody that needs them. We've gone around to Kensington and Allegheny, South Philadelphia. And his whole thing is he just wants to spread joy. And how can you not be joyous while eating a slice of pizza? And he's basically just doing it on his own and getting help from where he can. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to help him with some of his, spreading the word about that. So if you have a chance to, please check him out. He's on social media at the PMA Bike Ride.
That's awesome. Give it to us again, because I want a slice of pizza. No, I want to buy him a pizza so he can give it out. To give it to him. Give him some pies. Let him drive around on his bicycle. Give him out. That's remarkable.
Yeah, he's a really incredible guy. And again, it's at the PMA Bike Ride on social media. www.thepmabikeride.com.
That's great. So, Renee, if we wanted to volunteer for Jevs, how could we go about doing that?
Just simply go to the website, www.jev as in Victor S.org and //volunteers and sign up, and I'll get in touch with you right away.
So Renee she is the most efficient person you'll ever meet, because I guarantee you within minutes of you sending that email, she will be in touch with you to see how you can volunteer and how you can assist. So thank you both for all that you do. I'm really mindful, especially more so now than ever since coming home. I've been really I'm really thoughtful of, like, just in my daily life, of little things that you can do. And it doesn't necessarily mean volunteering for an organization, although I think it's great. And if you could, donate your time to Jevs or UMara Marathon or any other great program and organization that's out there, that's wonderful. But you don't have to be in an organization to do great things and to volunteer and to make a difference and to say that you matter. Little things. One of the things that I've lived by in my adult life is trying to do one good deed a day, and totally unsolicited. It may be that You Matter Marathon card that I keep in my briefcase. And sometimes it's buying a cup of coffee for the person behind me in Wawa and then trying to get out before they recognize that somebody's already paid for them. Just little things that can make people smile and bring a little joy to them. And if a card can do it saying you matter, or if you can volunteer and give somebody a jacket, those things are priceless. And, there's really what often we lack in our society, and we need more of. We need more of all of you is what we need. We need to be able to clone you so that we can make America the amazing place that it should be. So thank you for all that you do. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, we're going to bring everybody back on, because I want to be able to give all the information so we know how we can reach you and volunteer for your organization. So it's looking forward. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
We are back, and we have everybody on screen. So there they all are. You guys are all amazing, and thank you so much for being guests. Before I go around the horn and ask for some final comments, we have about 4 minutes left. One is I want to thank somebody that is volunteer and that goes unrecognized often on this show because he is behind the scenes, and his name appears on our deck in front of me in my studio. But Charlie Clark is here as religious as Lou Narvaez is on our show. And Charlie is our producer on the show, and he works hard to make sure that we're up and running and that our air feeds get out. And Charlie, I want to thank you personally for all the work that you do and for your volunteer efforts for this show over the past few years. And we appreciate all the hard work. So thank you so much. But let's go around the horn now, and let's start with Cheryl. If you can just let us know, I think our audience would love to hear how that we can be part of your organization and volunteer, and any closing remark that you might want to have. So Cheryl, we'll start off with you.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me. And it's such an inspiring group, so I feel very privileged to be here this evening. youmattermarathon.com. You can participate as an individual or a group. We will mail you 30 cards for free, no matter where you are in the world. And that's the best way to make a difference in your world and the life of somebody else, actually 29 other people.
Easy peasy, and it's free 95. Just free 95. Just get online and sign up, and you'll get those cards and get them out there to people. Awesome. And we love, if you can, when you give one out, snap a picture, take a story, and send it to the You Matter Marathon so that they can get it out there and we can recognize the work that you're doing. So Kirsten, give it to us, Pennsylvania Prison Society. How do we get involved and be one of your awesome volunteers?
Sure. Just go to prisonsociety.org and you can find out more about how to be a volunteer prison monitor or a volunteer mentor. You can also call our office at 215-564-4775. And I'm so grateful to be with everybody here and to be entering this holiday season and hopefully beyond, and just continuing to practice compassion and empathy with everybody we meet.
Well, thank you so much. Awesome. Good stuff. Renee, tell us, how do we get involved at JEVS and put in some volunteer time with you?
I'd love to have everybody and anybody go to JEVS Human Services, JEVS humanservices.org. Sign up for a volunteer opportunity. We also have mentoring opportunities through the 3 Cups of Coffee program, and that is available there too. So please sign up. Please do good. Please pitch in. It does take a village.
It does. It takes a village. We have half the village here right on our show today. Kyle, give it to us. If in all the organizations, give a shout out to them and how we might be able to get involved in some of them.
Sure. I would just say to anyone who wants to get involved, find somewhere to get involved. There's plenty of places here in Philadelphia. Ones that I mentioned today, the PMA Bike Ride, the PMABikeRide.com, on social media at the PMA Bike Ride. Obviously, JEVS, which we just heard from Renee. Also, volunteering Untapped. You can go to vu-phl.org. And my local charity here that's in my neighborhood is the Brewery Towns Charleswood Neighborhood Coalition. They do a lot of great work. They're on social media at bsnc.engage. That's bsnc.engage.
Awesome. Good stuff. So I want to thank all of my guests for being on today. And I want to and say how appreciative we are. You're all doing amazing things in our society and communities, and you're making a difference. And I'll take this line, Cheryl, but you all matter. And thank you again for your volunteer efforts and for really making change happen, making a difference in our society. So thank you again for being on. I wish everyone a happy holiday. Next week, we're going to be having our holiday Christmas show. It'll be airing next Tuesday. So if you tune in next Tuesday, we're going to be sharing some the journey of the past year and celebrating the holidays with some family and friends here at our Philly Camp studio, people that are behind the scenes that help get the show on the air religiously all the time. And so looking forward to sharing that next Tuesday. That will be the last show for 2021. And then we'll be jumping back into the pool on January 22 with a new series of shows. And we're really looking forward to shaking it up a little bit. So again, I want to thank everybody for being on today. Lou Narvaez from Pennsylvania Probation and Parole, Cheryl Rice from You Matter Marathon, Kirsten Cornell from Pennsylvania Prison Society, Kyle Kukuza and Renee Shipley Thank you all for making this a great show, for volunteering, and really making a difference. This is Looking Forward Show, and we'll see you next week.